2024 NFL free agency targets is the topic for discussion on today's show. As you're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Marshall Green. The Giants have multiple needs on this football team, but you always want to be a little bit aware, and I would say cognizant, of overspending in free agency. Saw it with Dave Gettleman, and we saw it with Jerry Reese. 9 times out of 10, you're overpaying for a player in free agency. That's why they're leaving their current team. Well, per Over the Cap, one of the best salary cap sites in the game, the Giants have $22 million in cap space. I've seen that number be floated from 22 to 35. So I'm going to go with over the cap. In my opinion, they're the best in the game. They said $22 million in cap space. Well, the Giants can save $5.6 million if they cut Mark Lewinsky. And I believe Mark Lewinsky will be cut by the Giants. Let's give the Giants about $27, $28 million in cap space. Also, the Giants can create almost another $30 million in cap space very, very easily. The Giants can restructure Andrew Thomas, and they can also restructure Dexter Lawrence. Restructuring Andrew Thomas saves $14 million this year. Restructuring Dexter Lawrence saves about $11.5 million. So that's $25 million plus the $6 million from Mark Lewinsky. That's 31 plus the 22. You got 53 potentially $1 million in free agency if you do want to restructure Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. Who are you spending that money on, though? Well, in my opinion, you could look at a quarterback. You need more offensive playmakers. You need more of these guys. You also need offensive linemen. You also need edge rushers. And I think you could also benefit from signing a veteran cornerback. I do think the Giants most likely will sign a veteran quarterback in free agency. We do not know if Daniel Jones will be ready to go in week 1. If he is not ready to go, there is going to have to be somebody to step in. And I just don't believe the Giants, and I could be wrong. I hope they're wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I don't see the Giants drafting a quarterback that will be ready to go in the early part of the season. So, who are some guys? I think Tyrod Taylor is obviously a name. He's been here. He's done that. He knows the system. But personally, I don't think Tyrod Taylor wants to play for the New York Giants anymore. He was benched by Tommy DeVito, and that was a terrible, terrible decision. Jacoby Brissett, he's a veteran, and he's been able to step in and win some games. I'm a fan of Jacoby Brissett. Would be fine with that. Brian Tannehill could be on the move. New GM, a new head coach there in Tennessee. They could be looking to roll with one of their younger QBs. Sam Darnold, I've always been somewhat of a fan of his, and I think that he could be a spot starter for the Giants at times. Jameis Winston, love him, 30 for 30. That dude's going to drop back, and he's going to throw. At the end of the day, the Giants probably need to invest in a veteran quarterback. I think there was 20 teams this year that had to have their their backup quarterback start games for them. But I would rather just draft a QB in the mid-rounds, bring back DeVito, and if Jones is not ready to go week 1 or week 2, you play Tommy DeVito. You don't have the most cap space. I would like to spend it elsewhere. And a spot that I'm cool with spending it is on the outside, on offense, wide receiver. The Giants need an alpha. They need a number 1 wide receiver. They need a guy that gives them a competitive advantage on the outside. Unless your name is Patrick Mahomes, you're probably not going to win a lot of games without good wide receivers. Look at the San Francisco 49ers, all the weapons they got. Amon-Ra St. Brown, look at the weapons they got. Baltimore, they've got weapons everywhere. And here are some of the top free agents coming out this spring. T. Higgins, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr., Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney, Gabriel Davis, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Boyd, and Curtis Samuel. Those are the top 10 wide receivers, according to Pro Football Focus, that are going to be free agents. For me, the guy that I would go after is Calvin Ridley. I'm a big fan of Calvin Ridley. I think if Joe Schoen could create a wide receiver for the type of guy he wants based off what he has told the media, it is Calvin Ridley. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. He's an elite route runner. He's a separator. And he's also someone that gets north and south of the football, a.k.a. a generator with the ball in his hands. Calvin Ridley, prior to his suspension, was a top 5 receiver in this league. The dude had 90 grabs for almost 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns with 15.3 yards per catch. This past year, he was also good for Jacksonville. 76 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 13.4 yards per catch. Giants need someone that could stretch the field. He could do that. I would be very happy if they sign him. Thing is, I think Jacksonville may apply the franchise tag, and he may not be able to hit free agency. Let's say he does, though. Let's say Calvin Ridley is a free agent. Should the Giants sign him? Let me know what you think. Should the Giants sign Calvin Ridley? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Money's got to be right, no doubt about it. But if I had to pay any big money for any of the wide receivers in free agency, I would take a look at Ridley. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Coming up next, we'll look at the offensive line. We're looking at guard free agent targets. We've also got players off the edge that can get after the pass that we're going to talk about. And there's one veteran cornerback that I am interested in the Giants inquiring about his services. But first, I got to tell you guys about our proud sponsor, Factor. Go to factormeals.com/GiantsChat50, promo code GiantsChat50, and get 50% off. Factor, it is awesome and it is affordable, and you can also save 50% off. Fresh, never frozen, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. If you're looking for keto, low-calorie, high-protein, vegan or veggie meal options for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, Factor is the place for you. You get to pick your pre-made meals, which are prepped and cooked to perfection. You just heat them up, you eat them, and you enjoy them. That's factormeals.com/GiantsChat50, promo code GiantsChat50, save 50% off. All right, Joe Schoen. In year one, your job was to fix the offensive line. You did not do it. It is now year 3 of you being the general manager of this football team. You still have the biggest problem on your desk that was there the day you got hired. Invest in your offensive line. If you don't do anything else this offseason, do this. Pay one of these 10 guys some money in free agency. These are the top interior offensive linemen in order, according to Pro Football Focus. Kevin Dotson of the Los Angeles Rams. Robert Hunt of the Miami Dolphins. Kevin Zeitler. Name sounds familiar. Remember the Giants cut him to go pay some guy that never scored a touchdown for us? Connor Williams, interior offensive lineman. Dalton Reisner for the Vikings. Erza Cleveland came into the league as a tackle, switched to guard, and now he's really good. I like the versatility that he brings. Damian Lewis, John Runyon, Jonah Jackson, and John Simpson. The Giants have to sign one of these guys. If you come out of free agency and you don't sign one of these 10 guys, you really didn't try. You really didn't. And if I had to say who I would want that guy to be, it's Robert Hunt, the interior offensive lineman from the Miami Dolphins. He's been good every year of his career. Every year. Allowed just 1 sack this year. The dude allowed 5 QB pressures the entire season. The Giants had quarterbacks sacked 85 times this year. He's a good player. And I also think the Giants need a veteran guard. Maybe they need 2. Can you get Hunt and Erza Cleveland? Erza Cleveland would be awesome. With a young center and a young right tackle, and maybe it's a new young right tackle, you need guys that makes their life easy. And those are veteran guards that perform at a high level. The Giants have to pay an offensive lineman this free agency cycle. I would also like to see them go out and get an edge rusher. Now, I don't know if they do, but these are the top guys according to Pro Football Focus. Josh Allen, Brian Burns, Danielle Hunter, Bryce Huff, Chase Young, Jonathan Greenard, Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Josh Uche, and Leonard Floyd. I would love to get Danielle Hunter. The Giants going to pay him $100 million. I would love to get Josh Allen. Are the Giants going to pay him $100 million? I don't know. So let's look at tier 2 guys. 2 guys that stand out to me are Bryce Huff, the edge rusher for the New York Jets, as well as Leonard Floyd, the veteran that has bounced around a couple of spots. Leonard Floyd had 10.5 sacks this year. He had 9 sacks the year before that, 10 sacks the year before that. All the dude does is get 10 sacks a season. Bryce Huff, he came onto the scene this year for the Jets. 10 sacks, has a pass rush win rate at one of the highest levels in the NFL. He hasn't played all that much, still had 10 sacks. You need one of these guys. If you can get one of these guys, I'd be very happy. Which one? I don't necessarily have a preference. Floyd is older than Huff. Huff may have more untapped potential, but he's proven that he can do it in multiple spots for multiple teams for multiple years. Let me know which one of these guys you would rather the New York Giants sign. At cornerback, I don't think the Giants are going to spend big money on a guy. So I'm looking at a veteran like Sean Murphy Bunting. I've always been a fan of Murphy Bunting's game. He's a player that I feel like is a little bit underrated. I know the Pro Football Focus numbers are not all that kind to him, but I do like what he did for Tennessee a little bit this year. And I think he'd be a guy that you can get relatively cheap. I mean, Pro Football Focus has his contract projection as 1 year, $4 million. And that may be the type of money the Giants have to get there. I'm not really interested in bringing back Adoree Jackson. I thought he kind of quit on the team in a little bit. I think signing a veteran for a 1 year deal, kind of like they did with Fabian Moreau, makes a lot of sense. Murphy Bunting, he'd be on top of my list for a cheap veteran they could look at. We went through offensive line, receiver, edge rushers, and a corner. Name a free agent you want the Giants to sign. I want to hear from you down in the comment section. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're going to be putting out free daily videos, free videos on the New York Giants all off season long. So subscribe and turn the notifications on.